If you enjoyed the video or any other content on the channel, feel free to subscribe. It really helps the channel out, and we got board reactions coming soon. This is a list for the Shield Host Detachment using all Codex units, lots of Allarus Custodians to be specific. I had the idea for this list while looking at some World Leaders lists with the triple exalted 8-bound bricks, and I thought why not try a list with 3 Allarus Bricks. The list does focus around Allarus Custodians who hit like freight trains in the Shield Host Detachment, but I have built a good amount of supporting units around the Allarus Custodians. I go over the Army and Detachment Rule, enhancements and stratagems that benefit this list. Now, onto the list. It's a Shield Host list, 2,000 points, and I've named this one, Let's Kick Some Allarus. Our Warlord is a Shield Captain in Allarus with the Panoptus Specs enhancement with a Castellan Axe. For our battle line, we have 3 units of Custodian Guard. One of them is a 5-man with 4 spears, the Vexilla, and the Presidium Shield with a Misericordia. And then I have 2 4-mans with 3 spears, Presidium Shield, and a Sentinel Blade. For our other data sheets, we have a unit of 5 Allarus Terminators with Castellan Axes, and then we have 2 more units of 5 Allarus Custodians with Guardian Spears. 2 units of Witchseekers, and for our allied units, we have Inquisitor Draxus and the Callidus Assassin. Now we'll go over the Adeptus Custodes Army Rule and the Detachment Rule for the Shield Host. The Army Rule is Martial Kata. Each time a unit from your army with this ability is selected to fight, select one of the Kata stances. Until that unit has finished making its attacks, the selected stance is active for it and it gains the relevant ability. Dakatari stance, melee weapons equipped by models in this unit have the Sustain Hits 1 ability. Rendak stance, melee weapons equipped by models in this unit have the Lethal Hits ability. A great army rule to boost our melee damage potential. If we'll be wounding on 4+ or less, pick the Sustain Hits 1. If it's 5 or 6s, pick Lethal Hits. The Shield Host Detachment Rule is called Martial Mastery. At the start of the battle round, you can select one of the bullet points below. If you do so, until the start of the next battle round, that bullet point effects apply. For the first one, we have each Adeptus Custodes model with the Martial Kata ability. Melee weapons equipped by that model gain the Critical Hits on 5's ability. Or you could pick each Adeptus Custodes model with the Martial Kata ability. Melee weapons equipped by that model gain +1 AP. I will quickly touch on the 6 stratagems for the Shield Host. Some of them are better than others. For the first one, and one of the better ones, is Arcane Genetic Alchemy. Any phase after mortal wounds have been allocated, until the end of the phase, models in that unit have a 4+ Feel No Pain ability against mortal wounds. And this is a great one because we can wait till the wounds have been allocated before we can use this, and this is any phase. Then we have Archaeotech Munitions in your shooting phase. One Adeptus Custodes unit that hasn't shot yet, select either Lethal Hits or Sustain Hits 1 ability. Until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in your unit have the selected ability. Great for Draxus and great for that Allarus Custodians unit. Avenge the Fallen, I don't really like this one. Start of the fight phase, one Adeptus Custodes unit that is below starting strength. Until the end of the phase, add 1 to the attack characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in your unit. If your unit is below half strength, until the end of the phase, add 2 to the attack characteristic of those melee weapons instead. And this is another great one, Multi-Potentiality. It allows the unit to fall back, shoot, and charge. Another one is Unwavering Sentinels, and this one, it's not bad, but it could be stronger. It's in the fight phase if we are on an objective that we control. Until the end of the phase, each time a melee attack targets your unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. I'd rather -1 to the wound roll, but -1 to the hit roll. It can come in handy, but there is a lot of reroll hit rolls in the game right now. And then finally, Vigilance Eternal for 1 CP in the movement phase. If we're on an objective we control, we can sticky that objective. A great stratagem to allow us to keep moving up the board and not having our expensive custodian units standing on objectives all game. Now let's go over the units in the list. We'll start with our Warlord unit, the Shield Captain in Allarus. And the Shield Captain will be joining 5 Allarus with the Castellan Axis, and it will be the hardest hitting and toughest unit in our list. And just like the Custodian Guard list, I wanted very little characters in this list. But I did want one Shield Captain to take advantage of Strategic Mastery to reduce the CP cost of stratagems by 1, and every stratagem in the Shield Host Detachment cost 1 CP. The Shield Captain and Allarus with the Allarus Custodians will have access to any of the stratagems for 0 CP, making it very hard to use mortal wounds to take out this unit. Multi-potentiality allows us to fall back, shoot, and charge, making it pretty much impossible to keep this unit tied up in combat. These three big Allarus Custodian units, along with Draxus and the Custodian Guard, really like being able to fall back and shoot. This unit will have 12 shots from his axes, hitting on 2s, strength 4, AP 1, damage 2, along with the 66 plus blast from the ballistic grenade launchers, very deadly into toughness 4 or less targets. We can also use Archaeotech munitions to give this unit's ranged attacks, sustain hits 1, or lethal hits, making them either anti-horde or a bit more anti-everything with those lethal hits. I chose the Castellan axes because we can get them up to AP 2 with the Shield Host Detachment Rule. They are much less affected by the -1 damage or half damage, taking the axes from damage 3 to damage 2. The Guardian Spears, on the other hand, go from damage 2 to damage 1, which is a huge deal when most of our army has damage 2 weapons. So this unit is great for taking out Catan or anything with the -1 damage. The Allarus Custodian's ability, Slayer of Tyrants, allows this unit to re-roll the wound roll against characters, vehicle, and monster units, and this is either ranged or melee. This is what makes this unit so dangerous to the opponent's most important units, since they will most likely fall in one of those three categories. This unit will start in Deep Strike. I want to use Rapid Ingress to get this unit into a nice staging area for a charge the following turn. We want to use this unit to hunt down the toughest, most damage dealing units in the enemy army. From Golden Light gives a once per game back to reserves at the end of the opponent's turn, gives us more options since we can Rapid Ingress this unit to destroy an important target. At the end of the opponent's turn, they go back into reserves to Deep Strike down somewhere else, or even wait for another good Rapid Ingress opportunity. Now let's talk about Draxus attached to 5 Custodian Guard with the Vexilla, my auto-include unit for most of my list. This unit is an anti-infantry nightmare. Draxus plus Custodian Guard is one if not the best combinations for Kyria Draxus in all of 10th edition. The Custodian Guard have 2 abilities that makes Draxus shine. Stand Vigil for those reroll wound rolls of 1, or reroll the wound roll if on objective they control. Sentinel Storm once per game, this unit can shoot twice in the shooting phase. Draxus has 2 ranged attacks, her Dirge Singer, which is Assault, Anti-Infantry 4, Devastating Wounds, 4 shots, hitting on 3s, 2s if your target is a Xenos, Strength 4, AP 0, damage 2. Then we have the Psychic Tempest, Sustain hits 2, 6 shots, hit on 3s, once again 2s if you're targeting a Xenos unit, Strength 6, AP 0, damage 2, both with a range of 18. When we combine all of these things together, we get a unit that is made to kill infantry units. You want to be shooting this unit when they are on objective they control. This brings up the anti-infantry potential by so much, allowing us to reroll any of her Dirge Singer wound rolls to fish for those devastating wounds on 4s. Then if we need to, we can shoot twice per game, allowing her to shoot both her range attack profiles again. This can rip apart all but the most powerful infantry units. Next up is our 2 units of 5 Allarus with the Guardian Spears. These units will be used to take out important targets with their melee, as well as using their ranged attacks to thin out light infantry or horde units. These 2 units have Guardian Spears. I wanted these units to be a more overall threat to most enemy units. The Warlord Allarus unit has Castellan axes to hunt down specific targets with their damage 3. One of these will start on the board, the other in Deep Strike with the Allarus Shield Captain's unit. The other will start on the board. If we get turn 2, we will be able to use Golden Light turn 1 to redeploy our Allarus Custodians further up the board into a great staging area. With 3 of these units, we will be getting a huge amount of reroll the wound roll, giving us reliable damage across the army. Next up is our 2 units of 4 Custodian Guard. I wanted to try something a bit different with this loadout with these 2 units. With the 3 spears and the 1 sword and board, I wanted a model in the unit to be able to soak those 4 wounds of damage, but still have some combat threat. No Vexilla or Misericordia in these units. We can use these units for secondary actions, trading and using Vigilance Eternal to sticky objectives. The Shield Host Detachment, paired with the Army Rule, makes even this 4-man unit a serious threat to most enemy units. Multi-potentiality for fallback, shoot and charge. If these units get caught up in a melee combat, they do not want to stay in. Not a unit we want to spend too much of our CP on when we have those Allarus units on the board. 2 units of Witchseekers. How I deploy these 2 units will depend on the opponent's army. If there is a lot of deep strike threats, I will leave one on the home objective with a unit of Custodian Guard to help protect it. If little threat of the opponent using deep strike or reserves to steal our home objective, we can use these to scout out the board to gain some early board and objective control. We do not want to throw these units away for nothing, either be scoring points or hiding in cover for later turns. They do have the ability to cause battle shock tests to an enemy unit hit by the ranged torrent weapons. It can come in handy to try and battle shock a unit we do plan on charging with the Allarus units. Being able to stop a fight on death or armor of content is huge. On to our Callidus Assassin. I think the Callidus is still the best assassin for the Custodes, even more so with the new points. The Eversword does have some big charge threat, but the melee damage is not something the Adeptus Custodes lack. She can now fall back out of combat at the end of the opponent's turn. Her up and down ability is still fantastic for scoring secondary points. She does have the 9-inch aura that adds 1 CP cost of any stratagem on any enemy unit within 9 inches of that Callidus Assassin. We can use her to help our army be aggressive, especially when opponents only have 1 CP. Drop her within 9 inches of some important targets. Those enemy units will not have enough CP to use any stratagems, which against another melee army with fight on death or fights first stratagems, it can be the difference between losing a unit and losing nothing. Now for some final thoughts. Another list I want to play some more games with. It hits so hard in combat. It does lack the wardens for the once per game for Feel No Pain, but it does have a lot of toughness 7 4 wound models on the board. I like to take advantage of being able to sticky objectives with all the Custodian Guard, so I'm not stuck standing on objectives all game. There's no ranged anti-tank, but if we get any of these Allarus units into combat with vehicles, it is bad news for that vehicle. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more Warhammer 40k content. Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by.